Greetings, clarinet fanatics across the fruited plain and elsewhere in the world. I'm here to make a very unpopular argument, but one that I feel that must be made against what I consider to be an unexamined fact that is not a fact at all, but all evidence points to the very contrary. If you'd like to know what that is, stay tuned. You know, there are a whole myriad of factoids out there that really have nothing to do with truth, but people tend to largely accept. I know as a double lip player that there were so many ridiculous things said about double lip that it discouraged me from trying it for years. And once I tried it, I found out what nonsense all those stupid myths were. Well, there are also many other myths, some of them kind of silly sounding, and they're said by people who ought to know better. For instance, I heard someone claim that only wood clarinets are really acceptable because only they can take the high speeds that are required to accurately drill the tone holes. One other person said, oh, the reason a person's reeds are bad is because there's something wrong with their saliva. No, it couldn't be that they have problems with their mouthpiece. There's some damage in the mouthpiece. It couldn't be that their reeds are badly balanced. It couldn't be that their playing mechanics are messed up. No, it's because of their saliva. And, you know, when I hear fatalistic stuff like that, it just makes me crazy because I know that there are people out there who are really looking for knowledge and they run into something like that and they're having reed problems and they begin to have this sinking feeling in their stomach that they're just fated to suck, and that's not true. Good mechanics, good acoustical adjustments in the clarinet, good balance in the reeds will yield a good result for almost everybody, unless you have some serious physical defect that impairs your ability to play the clarinet well. I'm thinking of something like an extreme underbite. One of the most pervasive factoids and the most widely accepted factoids is the claim that wood clarinets are superior in sound, and that's the reason that wood clarinets are chosen over all other things. Well, if anyone has ever read my article called The Grenadilla Myth, I think you'll find many reasons that challenge that factoid. But beyond that, there's a lot of empirical evidence, and I'd like to share some of that empirical evidence with you now that hard rubber clarinets are at least the equal of wood clarinets in sound. First anecdote. A gentleman called me up and said he'd like to try my clarinets, that he had a very good clarinet that he liked very much, but he would consider buying my clarinet and actually selling his clarinet if he liked my clarinet. 3 months later, he called me back and he said, remember me? I'm the guy who had the wood clarinet that I liked very much, and you sent me a clarinet up? And I said, yes. And this was like a $6,000 clarinet that he had. He said, well, you know, I like your clarinet a lot and I bought it, but when I tried to sell my clarinet, I couldn't quite get the price I wanted for it. So what do you suggest? And I said to him, well, I don't have much suggestion except to put it on eBay and put a reserve price so you don't have to sell it for less than you want. And he said, well, actually, what I'm calling you up for is this. If I sent my clarinet down to you and you worked on it, could you make it play as well as your clarinet does? Second fact that stands over and against the factoid, and that is that we have 7 or 8 symphony players in top symphonies that are playing our hard rubber clarinets, and they like them, they like the way they tune, they like the way they play, and they like the way they sound. In fact, one of the most famous clarinet players, if I named the person, you would know his name instantly. He called me up the week after he got the clarinet and told me that the C clarinet that I sent him, how can I put this delicately, kicked butt. The next fact that's counter to the factoid is that a couple years ago, a young lady won a national contest, the Oklahoma Symposium Young Artist Competition. She won the entire contest against some of the best players from the best schools in the United States, best young players and best schools in the United States, and she won it playing one of our 576 clarinets. And the year after that, she came in second place. The next fact is that Marcus High School here in Texas has been declared this year, has won the honor band for 5A schools. I think it's 5A or 6A. It's the top, whatever is the top rating for schools. And essentially, basically the best band in Texas for this year, an honor that it clearly deserves. But the clarinet section doesn't play wood clarinets. Their clarinet section plays hard rubber clarinets, plays our hard rubber clarinets, and they have for several years, and they've encouraged their students to sell their wood clarinets and to buy our hard rubber clarinets because they sound better. They think they sound better, and they tune better, and they play with more consistency, which is very, very important in schools. Next fact to go against the factoids. Texas has been a wood clarinet state forever and ever. Amen. Well, one of the most respected clarinet players in the Dallas area and one of the best band directors was one of those committed wood clarinet players. And I asked him to take the 30-day challenge. But what is the 30-day challenge? The 30-day challenge is that he put away his wood clarinet and not play it at all, that he adjusts his reeds and everything to play with our 576 clarinet and play it and nothing else for an entire month. He decided to take us up on the challenge. At the end of the month, he bought our clarinet and said he would be using our clarinet next year in his school instead of wood clarinets. Personally, I think that hard rubber clarinets are superior in sound to wood clarinets. And we're talking about well-designed instruments. We're not talking about badly designed instruments by people who have no idea what they're doing, okay? But when you take a well-designed hard rubber clarinet that's properly prepared and compare it to a wood clarinet, you'll get superior sound out of the hard rubber clarinet. That's what I think, okay? But let's say I give it to you. I say that okay, hard rubber and wood are equal. They're equal in sound. Well, what other things do hard rubber clarinets have to commend themselves? Well, first of all, they don't crack. They don't change throughout the year like wood clarinets do. The joints don't bind when everything gets super humid, and the joints don't get loose when everything gets super dry. And also the clarinets seal much better because the tone holes are perfect without chips and grains going through them. There's just any number of things that make, logistically, from the logistical standpoint, they make hard rubber quite superior to wood clarinets. Besides that, because of the nature of manufacturing and the nature of materials, hard rubber clarinets, when they're well designed, are much more consistent than anything you can ever achieve with wood, just because you're working on wood, which is not going to be consistent. And even if it could be produced with great consistency, it would move and change depending on the climate, depending on the time of the year, and the clarinet would begin to play quite differently. So there's quite a limit to the degree of consistency you can get out of wood clarinets. In contrast, and this should be of a special interest to educators, in contrast, hard rubber clarinets are much more superior, much superior in consistency and in tuning. They play much better, and this is very important for a clarinet section to be able to play well in tune. They're a lot less expensive than wood clarinets, a lot. and you get a clarinet that will last 2, 3, or 4 times longer than most wood clarinets. Harold Wright, the famous clarinet player from the Boston Symphony, he said that he changed clarinets every 6 or 7 years because the wood clarinets blow out. This is not the case with hard rubber clarinets. They'll last and last and last. As long as you take reasonable care of them, they will play wonderfully for you. They're almost the clarinet for a lifetime. And that's my whole pitch for hard rubber clarinets as being the superior choice to wood clarinets. We'd like to invite you to try our clarinets and see if you don't agree. Thank you for listening.